Hello again. I am David Barron. I am a 25-year practicing clinical hypnotist. I've helped people do things like quit smoking, among other things. And what I'm trying to share with you today and what you're going to learn are one of the tips that I help people with that are unrelated to hypnosis that can help you quit smoking. Of course, if you want to use hypnosis to quit smoking, it is a very powerful tool, and I would love to work with you. But these are things that you can apply right now that will get you on that path and ultimately, hopefully, and eventually make you a non smoker. So let's first do a quick recap. First, you've set it in your mind from the previous videos, you've set it in your mind. You're going to be a non smoker. You haven't set a deadline. It's not important you've set a deadline. You just know that there's a point in your future where you are going to quit and you will be a non-smoker. That is now setting a foundation for everything that's going on. Next, you've decided to look at things much more like an experiment than a pass or fail test. So there's no failure, there's only feedback. You will learn from every experience and every experiment on your path to being a non-smoker, and you'll see it as a lesson from which you can learn. And if there's something you learn that can help you reduce your smoking, that's a victory. You celebrate it and you keep going because you will eventually get there. There's no failure, there's only feedback. And from our last video, I pointed out how important it is to talk to yourself with a sense of grace, forgiveness, encouragement, support. Speak to yourself as though you were a child that you care about instead of with anger, frustration, with domineering. It's going to be a much kinder and gentler path that you're going to walk to become a non-smoker. And after all, you're eventually going to get there anyway. You've set it in your mind. So speak to yourself with grace as though you were a child you care about. In this video, what I'm going to give you is a motto to just sort of repeat in your mind every time you start to reach for a cigarette or think of smoking a cigarette. And I learned this myself, and I'll tell you my experience, but the motto is very simple. Every time you think of smoking a cigarette, say the words, I am not that person anymore. And you say it with a sense of strength and a sense of confidence and a sense of determination. And just notice what your body and mind do in that moment that you think you want a cigarette. Now, this is my personal story. Years ago, I used to smoke, and I will admit smoking provided me a certain comfort. But what I also realized is I didn't want to be a smoker. I didn't want to be that guy smoking a cigarette. So I had to figure out how to stay quit because I quit so many times, but I always came back. And the realization was, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be a smoker. So when I quit that last time, I began to remind myself every time I thought of wanting a cigarette, I'm not that person anymore. In those moments, I could feel my back straighten, my chest would puff out, I could feel my feet plant firmly on the ground, and I felt a sense of resolve. And whatever I wanted about that cigarette was not important at that moment. And I just kept saying that. So those words again are not that person anymore. Something I teach my clients when I'm coaching them is there's a whole pyramid of influence. At the very bottom, here you are as a smoker. You want to change this one itty bitty behavior of smoking. And as you climb up that pyramid, there are things that influence everything beneath it. So you have all these emotions, these wants, these needs, these sense of self. But when you climb to the top of the pyramid, it's how you see yourself. And when you change your sense of identity, when you begin to see yourself differently, when you look back on those old behaviors and you say, I'm not that person anymore, everything beneath that pyramid begins to change and align. And living as a non-smoker is so much easier. Something you can consider. Consider back in your youth when you used to do stupid things. Would you even consider doing some of those stupid things now? I hope you're not that person anymore. You have changed. You see yourself entirely differently. So that's this instruction. Begin to say every time you would want a cigarette, every time you see someone smoking a cigarette, you remind yourself, I'm not that person anymore. So when you're driving in the middle of summer, you see someone with their finger dangling out the window with a cigarette, you say, I'm not that person anymore. Or if it's freezing cold in winter and you see someone huddled around the exit trying to shiver and smoke a cigarette, you say, I'm not that person anymore. And you just keep at it. Again, it's going to happen. It makes it easier and easier and easier. So once again, I hope this fits for you. Go back and review all of the previous videos if you can. And we have one more video coming up. I wish you the very best. Please, if you have questions, if you want to talk to me personally, if you want to work with me, I've been doing this a while. I'm fairly confident in my skill set. I'm pretty good at it. We will talk the next video. Please take care. Bye.